Welcome, everyone, to the Wake Up Call channel. Star Wars is a topic I've covered a few times over the years. Not in really deep detail, but showing you the basic symbolism, trying to explain to people that when they reference the Force, they're referencing witchcraft. But people out there can't really get past what they see with the costumes and the music and the theatrics of it all. And most people, somehow, someway, don't ask me how, because I couldn't sit through one of those movies. Somehow they are attached to it. And really the reason that a lot of people are attached to it is because it's something that's been pushed on them by the mainstream media and the government specifically. It's MK Ultra programming. They pushed it onto people. They've told you that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they've actually made it to a point where they're like, if you don't like Star Wars, you're actually weird. That's how crazy this has gotten. It started off where it was more of a nerd thing, and now it's pop culture. It's everywhere. We even see Star Wars Day in the United States of America, which is frightening. And a subscriber on the website, Elena Bob, shared this with me about Acolyte, which is another one of these Star Wars spin-offs that's on Disney Plus, because they don't want to break you from the programming. And what's really important to note that you got to remember is that they continue to do these spin-offs because they expect parents who grew up in the 70s or the kids in the 70s who are now parents to pass this on to their kids. Pass this conditioning on. And Star Wars is filled with satanic signs, symbols, and itself, the whole theme of it with Yoda and the whole theme of it with the Force is all about witchcraft. All of these shows that we've all been indoctrinated with are about witchcraft, but people don't realize it. Other than Harry Potter, which is an obvious one, even though there's still people out there like, Harry Potter is about witchcraft? Huh? I mean, it's pretty frightening. Other than that, the most of these things that people see, they don't even realize. They don't even realize when they go see these Disney cartoons, these movies that with Snow White, that the theme of all of them is about magic. They don't even realize that it's called the Magic Kingdom, okay? Disney is involved with the CIA. This is very known, okay? Walt Disney's involvement as DeMolay and Freemasonry and his involvement with kids, which is absolutely frightening that nobody points out. Walt Disney and the CIA set up Disney World. Underneath Disney World is literally an underground city, underground tunnels. This is a mind control hub. That's what Disney is. And if you don't believe me, just think to yourself about how indoctrinated and obsessed people are with Disney. Do you ever think for a second why adults are going back to Disney World, right? Why adults go there and they can't escape from it? It's a form of mind control, and it's passed on from generation to generation. So, Disney's show Acolyte. Let me show you a scene from the show because they're talking about the Acolyte witches. That's right, witches. They're just rolling witches out now. They don't even have to pretend about the Force and what it really is and Yoda. They just can go, hey, we have witches on Star Wars now because they're getting more comfortable. They're dividing people so much so that Democrats and Republicans actually use witchcraft and Satanism now as a means for arguing and debating with each other. Which is a good thing in a sense that conservatives are aware now that Satanism and witchcraft is real. But it's frightening for humanity that it's not something that unites all of us against Satanism and witchcraft. Because if people actually knew that this wasn't fun and games, that these are the people involved with manipulating all of our lives, these are the people involved in the trafficking and sacrifice of young children. If everybody realized that, they'd band together, they'd get past their left-right paradigm. But what they're doing, obviously, is they're taking Democrats and they're actually training them into being witches. Now, this works on conservatives, too, because conservatives like Star Wars as well. But they've taken witchcraft, they've brought it out in the open, and now we see them openly debating about this new Star Wars episode. But let me show you the clip here. And I love how they talk about the power of one. Because remember, this is a one world order. Here's the creepy scene, which, of course, again, they want you to think that this is fun, this is art. This is what these things really do. So there's a witchcraft, it's sorcery, witchcraft right in the middle of the new Star Wars show. And what is this geared toward? Well, it's geared towards kids. Kids see this stuff. They dress up like the characters. They love the show. Don't ask me how this mind control works. But again, we've all been victims of the mind control that they've used on us. Anytime you allow yourself to get into a show or a movie, then the mind control is working on you. So people look at me and th're like, well, what are you supposed to be? Miserable 24/7 like you are, man? Well, Maybe so. I don't know how to tell you, I don't know what to tell you in regards to how to live your life. It's not my job. But all of these things that we see that are normalized and out there and famous and popular, they're all there to condition you. And you might see someone be like, well, I like to get lost in it. Well, that's understandable. Everybody needs to step away and get lost in it. But unfortunately for a lot of people my age and the age of a lot of you out there, the way for a lot of people to escape is either video games or movies or shows or things they grew up with, sports in some cases, like me. I grew up on sports, so sometimes if I need to escape, I watch sports, although I haven't watched sports in a long time now because even when I was doing this and I was trying to escape in sports, I put on sports and they would be wearing Pride bandanas or Pride uniform. I mean, it's unbelievable. The conditioning is everywhere because they control everything, so you can't even watch any of this stuff anymore. All the athletes come out and they take a social stance, and of course, it's the stance of the New World Order. They're promoting BLM, they're promoting Pride, all done by design. They're all puppets. And once you realize that, it's very easy to break away. You start realizing that the things of this world we're not supposed to love, and the things of this world are of Satan. So, back to this, right? And before I read to you about the Acolyte witches, let's just look at a quick little history here of Star Wars, right? Star Wars, one of the most recent films that they had before, going to this Disney Plus stuff, I guess, with Harrison Ford doing the all-seeing eye symbolism, right? That was the posters that were promoted for the film. They were holding stuff over their eye. Couldn't be more obvious. Even doing it with Darth Vader. I guess that's Darth Vader unmasked according to the screenshot here, doing one eye symbolism. And look, the Force itself, okay, when they talk about manifesting the Force, may the Force be with you. They're talking about the use of magic, Magick, okay? Spiritual Force magic, right? Now, Yoda is the character that they go to. Oh, Yoda's all knowledgeable, right? Little Yoda, you see Yoda there. What do you think Yoda's based on? Huh? What do you think Yoda is supposed to be based on? I mean, they even have a picture of Yoda in one of their books. Okay, does that look like Yoda? These are books. Now, you know what that language is on the side? Yeah. Well, I mean, Yoda's wearing that little hat, so what do you think it's based off of, right? The knowledge. These are the demons that they summon, okay, in their black magic teaching. You would say, what's their black magic? Well, this book called the Kabbalah teaches a lot about black magic. Yeah, you know who else loves that book? The Freemasons and the members of secret societies, all the people in Congress, etc. They don't have to identify as a specific religion, even though they all follow the teachings of that religion, because it's not really a religion. It's a cult, okay? They're not really who they claim to be. They're of the synagogue of Satan. So some of them claim out in the open to be members of the synagogue of Satan by saying that they're part of a certain tribe. And then there's other people who just pretend that they're Catholic because they're Jesuits, but they follow the same teachings as well. So you've even seen, may the light be with you. This is a screenshot that a lot of people use with, because the Freemasons love Star Wars. They love it. They promote it all the time. So the Acolyte, let's see what they're saying about the Acolyte here. And, why they're using witchcraft, right? The 2-episode premiere of The Acolyte, the latest live-action Star Wars series, was interesting and refreshing. Mainly interesting and refreshing. It was doing witchcraft, summoning spirits, ritual. I mean, that's how desensitized people have become. You see Taylor Swift doing rituals on stage. All these stories, now it's like, oh, witchcraft's not a big deal. There's a reason that people were going after witches hundreds of years ago, okay? I've said it a million times. Nobody thinks like that. What do you think? They just looked at them and they're like, I don't like how they dress. Just like those people with those sideburns, and they ran them out of every country. What do you think? They looked at witches? Now, I get it. I mean, most witches, you could see them. They're hideous, right? I'm sure they smell like sulfur. But what they were doing was they were finding out what they were doing with children, the acts that they were committing, okay? And they were realizing that witchcraft is real. Today, in this society, people believe witchcraft isn't real. That's because they're all under a spell of witchcraft. And that's how they're, not paying attention to what's going on. They're under hypnosis. They're under a spell. They're spell casting on you, right? But there's a reason that witches were targeted. Now, well, of course, they tell you they don't exist, even though they show you a witch in every TV show. All right, celebrities can come out and admit they're witches. Like, yeah, it's just fun and games. It's not real, right? And then eventually they'll be doing the witchcraft. People will be partaking in it with technology. They won't even realize they're a part of it. I mean, that's deception. That's what's going on. So this says that the latest live-action Star Wars series is interesting and refreshing, mainly because the idea alone of a thriller set at the tail end of the High Republic era is something we've never seen before, blah, blah, blah. Episode 3, blah, blah, blah. Look at all the headlines that are out there sum it up, right? Controversial Acolyte episode. Story from the witches. Are they good witches? Are they bad witches? All witches are bad. That's another comment I always get. I used to be a witch. There's good witches and bad witches. God forbids witchcraft and sorcery. There ain't no such thing as a good witch or a bad witch. They're all bad witches, okay? Now, you might have been a witch and you might not have performed those types of rituals that I refer to, but don't pat yourself on the back for not going down that road. You still partook in witchcraft and sorcery. Now, I'm not condemning you to death. I'm not condemning you to, not even having salvation, because, of course, witches can be witches and then be saved. That's what Christ did for all of us. He died on the cross, and you could seek salvation through him. There's no, I always talk about that, but there's no going back for a lot of these people. And I don't mean that they can't literally be saved. What I mean is that most of these celebrities, if they ever try to get out, they will be whacked. They will be taken out, okay? So they could find salvation on there, but the majority of them never will, because they're raised and they know of God, okay? It's not like they don't know God, right? It's not like they go through life, they're raised in witchcraft, they know nothing of Christ, and then they just find Christ. They're taught about Christ. They're taught that he's evil. They're taught that God is evil, that God prevents man from enjoying the things on the earth, the lust of the flesh, and everything else that's supposed to be enjoyable, they claim. So they look at God as a wicked, selfish God. So they know of God. So the odds of them turning to God are very slim. Now, there's going to be people who are born into witchcraft who don't know of God. Their parents might not teach them, and they might be witches and covens. And then eventually they find God and find salvation. But the odds of somebody who's famous finding God are very, very slim, okay? And living to talk about it especially, because they will probably start exposing the stuff they're involved in. And then, of course, they would get Mozarted. So the stories that are out there, again, another thing that's interesting to note with the witchcraft theme is these headlines: how the Acolyte wove queerness and lesbian space witches into Star Wars, right? So you see where this is going with it. Of course, you see one of the characters, they have that spiral right on the forehead, the hypnosis, the spiral, right? What do we know the spiral from? We see, oh, you're getting sleepy, oh, the hypnotism thing, right? The background on my video, on my channel, I put it there deliberately so people can see the hypnosis, like I did with the eyeball crying blood getting, destroyed, right? This is a symbol. This is the hypnosis symbol. We all look at it. It's a witchcraft symbol, spiritual rebirth. These symbols we constantly see around us, but we don't ever look at them. What do you think it's drawn on our forehead for, right? Somebody was sitting there like, why don't you do that spiral thing we always see, that hypnosis? Why don't we put that, on your forehead and just for fun, because it's artsy, right? Witchcraft. It's legit. It's real. And you always see the spiral. And again, another thing people think about with the spiral is stuff with kids that witches are involved in, of course, that I just mentioned. You always see the spiral on children's clothing, on children's toys. If you have kids, or you go visit somebody who has kids, look at one of the dolls they have, okay, or one of the toys they have, a toy block that has shapes and stuff on it, right? And of course, we know shapes all tie into witchcraft too. A lot of the shapes that have been normalized, the pentagram, okay? But look, and you'll find spirals just drawn on these children toys, and they just want you to be like, oh yeah, it's a spiral. It's a cool thing for kids. They love spirals. The indoctrination is everywhere. The people who make the toys and produce all these things, they're all involved in it. They've got full control right now, but it doesn't mean that we can't push back and stop it. So Star Wars in general, right, is obviously filled with witchcraft, sorcery. Everybody out there should know that. The show The Acolyte comes out and everybody's talking about, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're doing witchcraft. Well, that's a good thing, right? But it's also a bad thing, because it shows you that they're just going to start putting this out there. They're going to start making the they might say that this is the bad guys in the show, but people don't realize that the Force itself is referencing magic, M-A-G-I-C-K, right? We've seen the all-seeing eye symbolism in Star Wars all the time. Of course, Yoda, right? Nobody thinks about Yoda. Oh, what's Yoda? Well, in Hebrew, he's the hero, the warrior, the one who knows, right? And he even got a picture of him in their books. Couldn't be more. That's exactly who it is in the books, the picture I showed you from their books, right? And that would be a demon, right? Think about it. They summon these demons, these fallen ones. They seek knowledge through them. What do you think? They're all born smarter than we are? They're deceiving people. These people aren't smarter than anybody else. We have the ability to counteract what's going on now. Despite what they're trying to do on here with speech, we have the ability to. We just have to have the willpower. So Star Wars, again, it's MK Ultra programming. Nobody out there, if you're out there and you think you're like, Star Wars is great, it has nothing to do with mind control, you're under mind control, okay? It couldn't be a worse, the film itself is awful. It's awful. There's nothing artistic about it. There's nothing great about it. It's mind control. They've told you how great it is. They play it everywhere. The music, the frequencies of the music play a factor. People love to hear the song. It's mind control. They've indoctrinated you with it. It's another way to normalize magic out in the open, and they will. They're going to use these movies like Star Wars and get people to perform these rituals out in the open. They don't even realize it. They don't even realize that what any of this stuff is, right? This is part of the superhero programming I've talked about over the years. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.